Another, I don't want to say boring Sunday, okay? Some of these games are pretty exciting.
Sure.
We got some stingy affairs, though, happening around the league right now, Coach Belichick. Do you see that trend continuing this evening, or how do you think these games go tonight?
A couple interesting games tonight, but I think we've seen a little bit of a roller coaster here the first 3 weeks. Teams look great one week and then not so great the next week, and ready to crown New Orleans champion, and their offense, and they couldn't really do much against the Eagles' defense, and there's multiple of those. Carolina, the worst team in the league, and go out there and beat the Raiders, and so it's Houston's great offense, and they couldn't score against Minnesota, and now Minnesota's at the top of the mountain. So it's a little bit of a roller coaster. Still a little early. Teams are starting to find their own way, and we'll see how good they are.
Okay, so I think what you're saying is right now we still don't know who is what, right? But if a team goes 0-3, we kind of got to figure it out, or no?
Well, look, still a long way to go, but certainly it's starting to. I'd say they're starting to. Some of the things are starting to declare a little bit. And Cleveland, doesn't look like they're headed in a great direction. Tough day offensively. Couldn't block the Giants' pass rush. Played from behind again. That would be an example of a team that, even though they won last week, it seems like it's 3 weeks in a row. It's kind of trending the same way for them. So I'd probably be a little bit concerned there about, how that's going.
How about the Cowboys? You talk about the Browns, obviously. Cowboys get a massive win there week one over the Browns. Everybody thinks they're great. And then back-to-back weeks, they're kind of just getting punched in the mouth. That's something we didn't expect from a Zimmer-led defense. We were just chatting about it before you got on here. Do you think they're starting to declare themselves, or is that fixable?
Well, this is the same thing they ran into last year, right? The games that they fell behind in early and teams that ran the ball against them, like Buffalo ran for 250 yards last year. They had about 3 or 4 games where they gave up, over 175 yards rushing and got beat. That was a little bit of the same issue they had last year. And of course, these last 2 at home, were definitely a problem. I still think they can move the ball. I thought they moved the ball against New Orleans pretty well in the first half too, but ended up with field goals. Saints ended up with touchdowns, and kind of the game got away from them. But look, the draft's over, free agency's over. I wouldn't expect a lot of big trades here. I think there's enough talent in Dallas to get things straightened out. But they got to look in the mirror and look each other in the eye and say we're going to do it.
Go ahead, AJ.
Coach, why you mentioned like consistency? We never know week to week. It's kind of a roller coaster. Why does it seem so difficult for, I guess, teams to play consistent ball, especially early in the season like this?
Well, honestly, I think some of the teams get a little too high and a little too low, after certain games. Honestly, one of the things that really jumped out at me was last night when they interviewed Mahomes. He talked about, they're 3-0, and you could easily sit there and say, oh, they're on course, and here we go again, big win in Atlanta and all that. But, there's Mahomes talking about how bad they're playing and how much harder they need to work and improve, and honestly, I think that's the attitude of a champion right there. It just jumps off the screen at you. They won a big game, and really what he's talking about is how much work they have to do, how much better they need to be, how it all starts with him, and I'd say I would still take his performance over a lot of other guys in this league. But here he is putting it on his shoulders, and when he says that, and you're another member of that team, it's hard for you not to take the same attitude and say, if Patrick feels like we got to play better and he's got to play better, then maybe I got to play better too. I thought that was great leadership from their leader.
Yeah, and that's why he's already being, described as the next one, the GOAT. And he seemingly has all the traits that you would want in a leading quarterback. We watch that Netflix series, Quarterbacks or whatever. He's having beers with the boys. He's talking shit. Yep. But then he's obviously in the film room. He's like, he earns everybody's respect, him and Andy Reid. And then after the games, he says all the right things because that's genuinely how he feels. He's seemingly one of one right now in this league. And I think we're incredibly lucky to have him. Him chatting like that, I think is a big deal, obviously, for those teams. Is there ever a time where like coaches can lose faith in what they're doing? It's like, for instance, David Canales gets his first win with Andy Dalton. You talked about how Carolina's the worst team, and then they get this win over the Raiders. Was there any chance that those coaches, you think, or maybe even Morgan, were like, yeah, maybe we aren't. Maybe we do suck. Do you think that creeps in at all? And, like, what can a win like this do for Canales as he starts his entire culture, I guess, in Carolina?
Well, Pat, I think each week you just got to look at that week of where you're at. And So here's the things that we did, maybe not great last week, but like, okay, at least we were competitive. Can we build on these? These are the things that absolutely killed us, and we simply can't win doing it this way. And so how do we fix those? We have to correct those before we can even think about moving ahead. So you try to build on the positives, and you try to eliminate the bad football, the things that are costing you games, the turnovers that some of the Titans have had in their losses, or some of the breakdowns, in coverage that we've seen where, guys are literally wide open in the secondary where obviously they shouldn't be. Make sure you fix those and don't let those happen again, whatever it is you need to do to make sure that you don't, give up those easy plays, whether it be turnovers or touchdowns, and then, figure out the things that you're doing well and try to build on those.
Yeah, I wonder if Canales slept so sound last night. Woke up early, though, back at it. Can't just get satisfied with one. Him and Andy Dalton are racing each other to the facility this morning, is what I heard. They're trying to do one thing after another. That. Connor has a question for you.
I'm sure that's the best that facility's been in several weeks.
Years.
Yeah. They got to walk in there today feeling like they can actually hold their heads up and walk out of there that they've accomplished something. I'm sure it's been a tough 2 weeks for them.
Yeah, 2 years. Yeah, congrats to them down there.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Congrats to them. Coach, think about the people working in the cafeteria, the equipment room, the training room. They've been there through all these different coaches, just like, we suck. We suck so bad. This food tastes like shit. This is terrible. And then you get a win, and all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute. Oh, we're doing the right stuff. We could really figure it out. Congrats to the Panthers. Oh, it is one loss away, though. Right back into it. Dalton ain't going to do that. Connor has a question for you, Coach.
Yeah, Coach, what about the Vikings and KOC? It feels as though after beating the Niners and then absolutely dismantling the Texans, that KOC could have success with basically any quarterback, but Sam Darnold is also playing out of his mind. Do you think that this is sustainable for the Vikings going forward, and are they a team that, the NFC should be on the lookout for as, being there in the end and competing for a Super Bowl?
Yeah, well, I think definitely got to be on the lookout for them, but it'll be interesting to see how they can sustain this. I've always said that it's a lot easier to get to the top than it is to stay on top. And, the teams and the players that everybody's pointing for every week, that everybody's got targeted, when those teams and those players can continue to excel week after week, even though they're facing that type of targeting, from their opponents, that those are the measures of, the great players and the real champions. So, I don't think anybody's looking past Minnesota, not that they were before, but I don't think anybody's looking past them now. And, probably their opponents coming up in the future are saying, hey, this is how we measure our program, is how do we do against right now, probably one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the league. And so that maybe is a little bit different approach. And, maybe that's what Minnesota had said against Houston, that, we saw what these guys did, and, this is the team that's coming. Let's see how we measure up against them. And it was obviously pretty good. But I'll say this. Everybody has liked Darnold except the Jets. The people at Carolina that I talked to, they really liked him. He was, at the Rams and not for very long. They liked him. I think they want to re-sign him. He was looking for more of an opportunity than to play behind Stafford. And then, I know that Kevin and some of the coaches in Minnesota, they really like this guy too. So, it seemed like the only people that didn't like Darnold were at the Jets.
Kevin O'Connell can draw a play up to get Boston Connor open, too. And Darnold, since the beginning, has been able to spin it. It might be perfect timing for both of them. And defensively, B-Flow, what a weapon to have alongside KOC over there. They might be building something very special. C.J. Stroud didn't have his best game. Your thoughts on it?
Well, multiple looks. Multiple looks are always tough on a young quarterback. And Minnesota did a good job of that. But Minnesota's a team that's very good playing from ahead. They have, as you said, multiple blitzers, good coverage package, good pressure package. So if they can get ahead and play from ahead, that puts a lot of stress on the opponent's pass protection and offensive execution of the passing game. I mean, I still think overall in the league, the general, execution of the passing game is still, kind of below what we're used to seeing. So we'll see whether that can improve in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I'll be excited to see. That was great flexibility right there. That was a big-time kick. That was a big-time kick. That was big time. I mean, that knee was that helmet.
Jet Li.
That's phenomenal. Could you imagine sacking somebody and then being able to do that? That would be so...
Former Texan.
That was a damn good kick. Talk about offensive efficiency. Go ahead, Tone Diggs.
Yeah, Coach, what we're seeing with the Steelers earlier in the year is it looked like Tomlin might have been telling to Artie Smith, hey, let's not lose this game. We have one of the best defenses in the league. And then yesterday it seemed like they kind of cut the offense loose in the second half. There was a lot of empty sets, a lot of four wides. When you were a head coach, how would you go about that when you knew you had an incredible defense and then you just knew that your offense couldn't lose the football game?
Well, I think you want to keep your a defense like that. You want to keep them on a long field. And playing against a Steeler defense, it's hard to convert 3 or 4 third downs to drive the ball down the field and score. So as long as they don't give it up in one play, which the Steelers rarely do, they force in multiple third downs. It's hard to score a lot of points. Look, I think Arthur Smith is one of the best offensive coaches in the league, and he's really done a good job with Coach Tomlin of playing to the strength of that team, and that's why they're winning. He's doing a nice job with the way that they're using Fields. Again, they don't put the defense in many bad positions, haven't turned the ball over, competitive in the running game, took advantage of the scoring opportunities, and, playing good complementary football. And so that's been great for him.
Artie Smith with that mustache in Pittsburgh.
Oh, man.
Justin Fields doing what he's doing. Chicago Bears fans having to watch it from afar. Has to feel good over there in Pittsburgh. You guys winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, 100%.
Winning the Super Bowl in Pittsburgh.
100%.
Seven's back.
Hell yeah, it's taking place. That's what.
Here
we
go.
Steelers, here we go. Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. Here we go. After 3 weeks, they feel that way.
Here we go.
Is that okay? How do you feel about that? That's literally how some fans feel, though, 3 weeks into a season. That's the real deal in Pittsburgh. They had no idea if either quarterback was going to work. They see Justin Fields work, and they're like, that's all we needed. That's literally all we needed. Hopes are very high over there, Coach.
Well, everybody's worried about the Pittsburgh quarterback situation. They might have the best one in the league. You have an experienced guy coming behind Fields if you need him. They're playing well as a team. But, again, a long way to go. Pat, one question for you. How do you feel about all these block punts? I mean, we're getting 1 or 2 every week.
Yeah, I don't like it.
What's going on?
Coach, I don't like it. Cam, speaking of the Steelers, I mean, Cam, his leg he got blown up for one of these pressure. They're bringing a lot of pressure, it feels like. A lot of pressure being brought in. I don't know if guys are taking their time. I saw Torrey Taylor's leg get run up on right in front of me for the Colts and everything. That was a massive penalty. Didn't love that. Happy Torrey's okay. I don't know. What do you think is happening in the special teams world? You think they're attacking more? How do you feel about special teams as a whole this year, thus far?
Well, I'll say this, Pat. You know as well as I do, when you don't block them, you're going to see them until you can show you block them, right?
Yeah, put the fire out.
These teams that have given up blocks, and I'd say there have been some close ones too. Once you give them up, then you better be ready to block it next week. They'll come after you. So I don't know. It's just been a lot of them. It seems like a lot of them. Some good returns in the league. Both punt and kickoff returns, and these field goal kickers are amazing. They're just banging them through from 50 plus at a pretty high frequency. Not perfect, but pretty good.
Hey, coaches are sending them out there, too. I think Aubrey hit 65 or something like that. Coaches are more apt to send them out there. I think it's probably because the guys are making it. You think that's the biggest reason why, or do you think it's because of the modern football with yardage and everything, how they view it?
Well, I think, honestly, you got to give a lot of credit to the special teams coaches of knowing what their kicker can and can't do. They're not sending them out there to, try to make a hole in one. They're sending them out there to make kicks that they're confident they can make. And for the most part, they're making them, or even the ones I've seen that are missed, those long ones are pretty close. So, they're doing a good job of, if they don't feel like the kicker can make those long ones, then there's some punts from the 40-yard line too, to try to, get that field position for their defense. So I think a lot of it is just the judgment of the special teams coach, knowing what his kicker can and can't make.
Year of the kicker continues. The year of the kicker continues, especially with Sirianni saying it's 3-0. I need 7.
I need it.
I need 7 here going into the half numerous times. He hates kickers. I've never seen anybody like it. Hates it. I think that's last year's mindset, 2 years ago mindset. This year, kickers are very important again. Go ahead, AJ.
Coach, what do you make of all this cover 2 talk that was going on? I believe last week about all this stuff, and you're showing 2 high safeties. My theory has always been, hey, if you want to play cover 2, the offense, they need to run you out of it, and the defense has to be able to get 4-man pressure and stop the run in cover 2, which is, I think, difficult to do against a strong offense. But what do you make of all this? Is that part of the reason why numbers may be down and guys may not be taking shots or whatever? Are they quarterbacks being impatient? Like, what do you make of all of that?
Yeah, well, I agree with you, AJ. I think cover 2 is a hard coverage to throw against, and you're right. If you can hold up in it in your front and with a 4-man rush, or some version of a 4-man rush, dropping an end, bringing a linebacker or a secondary player or something like that, then from a pass coverage standpoint, that's a pretty good pass coverage. Of course, some of the mixed quarters in with that, quarter, half, quarters, cover two. Those can be tough to throw against. And I go back to, I think, really one of the best defenses I ever saw. Was Jimmy Johnson's split safety package that he brought to college, went to Dallas, and then ran it in Miami. And I think if you talk to Tom, and certainly from my standpoint, like that was as hard as anything. Now they had good players down there too, but that was as hard to throw against as anything. The combination of cover 2, cover 4, and their man under 2 deep, cover what we call cover 5. So those split safety coverages are tough. As you said, if the offense can run them out of it and force you to come into those 7-man or 6-man, 7 or 8-man fronts, depending on the formation, then that and play those post safety coverages to drop a guy down, then that creates a lot of pass opportunities, on the perimeter with good perimeter receivers.
They're going to ban it. Mel Kiper said ban it.
Yep.
Ban it. Doesn't want to see it anymore. Move them up. Sick of seeing these guys back in outer space. Watching it film go on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's sick of it. Kick it out of the game. Let's look at tonight.
Well, but Pat, to do that, and as you know too, AJ, to do that, you got to have a safety that can play in the deep part of the field. And some of the guys that are more of in the box safeties, guys that play 2, 3, 4 yards from the line of scrimmage that are really effective down there, in a lot of cases just aren't built to play away from the line of scrimmage. 10, 12 yards deep, playing in half the field, playing in deep man coverage. So it takes a different athlete, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of these safeties in the NFL now were former corners, much more so than in the past. And if the guy's more of a safety playing the box, then they really move to will linebacker.
Wait, so you're saying that takes talent? You can't just put anybody back there? Because the way it sounds, you can just put anybody back there.
He's old.
And then it's just cover 2. We don't need this anymore. It takes a little bit of skill, too. Okay. All right, that's wild.
Well, you can take guys like, Minka and players like that who were college corners, who were, drafted as a corner, played corner at Miami, probably still could play some corner, but now as a safety, he's, an elite coverage player at safety. Not just coverage, but also instinctively and a good contact player and, really good communicator, can make good adjustments. So that position's really changed a little bit as the offenses have spread out. And as you've said, some of these teams have gone more to split safety and quarters coverage.
Speaking on that note, ladies and gentlemen, a man who was a corner, moved to safety, then played nickel as well, has a question about this evening. He's like, hey, he could hit too. Oh, yeah. This guy was very physical.
Yeah,
would knock himself out, okay? UNC would never know.
Stingers.
Only one.
Stinger. Yeah, stinger. This is a dead body in front of me.
Can't do that.
I see it. It's a dead body in front of me. We need to. Should we check this guy?
Only one.
Stinger, man.
Shout out Derek Carr. Hey, somebody.
Yeah, this guy's dead. This guy's an actual dead body. D-Butch got a question for you, though.
Threw around this 185 here and there. But doubleheader tonight, 4 quarterbacks, different storylines, different question marks about all of them. But Trevor Lawrence, we were kind of talking about him. Obviously, he got the big deal this offseason. Was a tag as a generational guy, has struggled as of late. What's your expectation of him tonight? How do you get him going? Obviously, you don't want to start 0-3, but what are you seeing on tape from Trevor Lawrence, and what do you expect from him tonight and going forward?
Well, I think the big thing with Jacksonville that would really help them offensively is if they get the running game going. And that's something that has been sporadic for them, but they really just don't run it very much. I mean, they throw the ball a lot, and so, they end up in a lot of pass protection, a lot of passing situations, and the ball's in Lawrence's hands. I think it would help him if they could balance that out a little bit. And again, they've had some production in the running game. I think they just need maybe a little more of a commitment or stick to it. And honestly, that's every quarterback's best friend. But Lawrence is certainly a very talented guy. But when you ask him to go back there and throw a ball 50 times a game, that's tall order.
How many times did Caleb throw it? 52.
Yep.
Dak Prescott threw it 51 times. We'll see if more of that happens for Trevor out there. They paid him a lot of money, Coach. Trevor Lawrence, a lot of money. Hasn't won since Thanksgiving last year, they're saying. Coach.
Well, there's a lot of quarterbacks out there that got paid a lot of money, and some of them are playing good, and some of them aren't. But Burrow's another one that look, at some point for Cincinnati to win, I mean, he's just got to stop fumbling the ball. I mean, he fumbles the ball, every week, and gave up a pick six last week on a strip fumble after fumbling the week before against the Patriots. And so, look, quarterbacks are going to get hit, but I mean, it's up to them to really protect the ball and take care of the football and stop fumbling it away. So it's hard to win when you're turning the ball over. Especially on those situations. Strip sacks are one thing, but when you pull the ball down to run and get stripped, that really belongs to the quarterback. So I think if he can eliminate those plays, that would help Cincinnati a lot. Obviously, if they play with both receivers, that would be a big help too. But to AJ's point, if they have those two guys out there, I'll be playing cover 2 on every snap.
I think everybody has been doing that since the time. And he had that wrist injury coming into this season. He had that surgery. You talk about turnovers. The first time a quarterback has had that injury, I guess normally it's a defensive player injury because it's like a contact jam of the wrist or whatever. So we didn't know exactly what the effects were going to be afterwards. If turnovers not being able to hold the ball, maybe that's a part of it.
Uh-oh.
I'm very curious about this Bengals team because they could be great, couldn't they? I mean, they could be great, this Bengals team, but for whatever reason, they always start slow, and then whenever they turn it on, they're on. Is that just how Joey Burrow is? Is that how the team is? Is that how the franchise is? I don't know. And then Commanders on the other side. It's a massive Monday Night Football game here for Daniels. How do you think he pans?
Yeah, well, look, at LSU, he's been in a lot of primetime games, so I think he'll be all right on that. Lou will give him a lot of different looks over there, and Daniels will have to sort those out. I think that's, an area that he still needs a lot of work in, is anticipating coverages and reading coverages. But, he's an athletic guy that can, turn something into nothing with his legs. And I think that Cincinnati probably, is going to have some kind of plan to control his running and try to force him to beat the Bengals, in the pocket, throwing the ball from, in the pocket with, guys around him on the pass rush. So, it'll be interesting to see how both those offensive lines hold up. I think that the Bengals line is, they got some consistency question marks there too. Some good players, but I'd say they haven't always played up to that level in the first couple of weeks. So, if they can get it going and if either team can, establish a running game like Washington did last week against the Giants, I thought that really helped Daniels out to be able to hand the ball off for, some 6 and 7 yard gains. That's favorable for any quarterback to have that kind of a opportunity to stay out of long yardage and create some second and shorts.
Hey, the Giants are back. I don't know if you know, the Giants are all the way back. All the way back. Daboll, Daniel Jones cooking. Absolutely cooking. Whole new season for this Giants team after a massive win over the Browns.
Brian Burns.
Yeah, well, I thought big thing was the pass rush. They had a great rush, and certainly Neighbors showed up. This is the guy we talked about on draft night. Pat, you remember in Detroit there where we were using hand warmers to stay warm, but Neighbors is a big part of the conversation. Big receiver, big play guy in the draft, tremendous hands, quickness, run after the catch, all the skills. Talking about him and Harrison and Adunze and those guys, but he was really an impressive guy, and the Giants got him. He's made a lot of big plays for him, but the Browns' pass protection was
abysmal,
under siege last night, and they had a lot of pressure from those edge players, especially the edge players, plus Lawrence inside from the Giants, whatever it was, 7 or 8 sacks, a couple holding penalties, and kind of looked like the Browns looked like what they saw from Dallas in Week 1, just a lot of constant pressure, and it looked like some offensive line injuries on top of that. So see if they can get that fixed, but it'd be a big challenge for them. It's just not one guy sacking them here. It's just
That's a
2 or
party
3
every
guys.
time.
Yeah, and they're all dancing too. They're all dancing. Anytime you got 5 guys dancing and celebrate a sack in your backfield on your field, not good days. Yeah,
Not good.
Not good. Not good. No Manning cast tonight because there's 2 Monday Night Footballs. We will see you on Inside the NFL, also on Jim Gray's Let's Go podcast.
Yep.
And, we've been enjoying the hell out of everything you've been doing, brother. Alongside your podcast with Patricia and Lombardi, too.
Coach.
Great clips everywhere, Coach. You're crushing it.
Appreciate it, Pat. Love being on with you every Monday. Look forward to it, and I'll see you next Monday.